think about future initiatives, what do you see in the CTV or even in the streaming space that you find intriguing that we can utilize in the future, let's say in the next 12 to 18 months?
Sure. So I think future initiatives, I think there's a couple of things there. I think one, having more opportunities, and I know a lot of folks are already doing this within the CTV or the hardware environment of finding if it's the front door page or if it's shoppable ads or pausable ads, like some unique added offering in that environment, I think would be great. We're all about providing some sort of more value. We don't want to be disruptive. We want to provide value during that experience. So I would say new ad formats, I think is a big one. I think having a better understanding of the content slates earlier down the road, so some of the major IP we can take a bigger advantage of. That seems to be really hard to do that right now with at least our timelines, and their timelines are not really in sync at all. So that's something that I think we're hoping to work on as we move forward. And then I think, this live, right? How do you start to integrate into live? How do you make that bigger? What does that look like now in the streaming environment? We know that live sports is moving over there. There's also going to be other entertainment shows, I'm sure, music. We know the roast with Tom Brady was very successful. How do we start to play in these live events that are on, on streaming platforms?
Well, and not only live events, but the cultural impact and the connection with the fandom that you have, which actually will lead me to the next part of my, let's call it a two-part question, right? So when we talk about the cultural impact, well, let me ask this. What are you watching now? What are you watching in the moment? That's part one. Yep. But two, if you think about what you're watching, how does that differ from the linear television water cooler moments of the past? I'm the worst to answer this question because I only watch Big Bang Theory.
That's a lot to unpack there. So I think, listen, culture for us as brands has always been something we strive to be culturally relevant, right? That gives us our edge over our competition. From a consumer perspective, I am watching an array of things. I spent the last couple of nights, weekends, watching the movies, right, that are made only for that streaming platform. I watched Roadhouse, although I am a bigger fan of the original versus the new. Mother of the Bride, we just watched, which was interesting, and Anyone But You. So those have been, not theatrical, huge movies that I'm finding on the streaming platforms that we're watching. In terms of my personal, sure, I'm a huge Bridgerton fan, so I'm excited for that season to come out. I didn't find any time this weekend because I want to find a large chunk of time to be able to unpack that. And my daughter and I are watching The Flash, which she's on season 8. I think I had to stop at season 6. But those are, that was a CW show that now she's finding on.
Well, now they're all watching Gossip Girl and the
exactly.
OC. I'm going back into time. I mean, this is what they're.
I did watch.
I was
rewatch
like, what are you
OC
watching?
too. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
But I think, to answer part 2 of your question is, when I first started at Pepsi, we would think about these big tentpole moments, and we were big sponsors of, the Grammys and the Oscars and, one singular event. And we kind of called it this is the big boom, and then we couldn't figure out what we did to get to the next tentpole event. So it's kind of like a boom splat event. And now I think there's all these different fandoms across all these different partners and platforms, and there's pockets. So it makes it even harder to drive that fandom, which could be Squid Games or could be The Marvelous Miss Maisel. They're all over different platforms. So it's really about trying to find all those fans and scaling them across the board. And in my opinion, I think similar. People are fans of the content. They don't care exactly what platform it's on. So if a piece of content moves from one streaming platform to another, they're going to follow it. Just like I'm an Islander fan, and if they go to a different channel, I'm going to go watch them there. So I think building that connection with the content and the fan is just more important than ever. But yeah, listen, are we still going to be in some of the big cultural events on broadcast? Most likely.
Yeah.